my goodness. I was supposed to start streaming 15 minutes ago and did not. My usual way of doing any kind of little side project is I'll try giving it to an agent to see if an AI can make it. And if an AI can make something very, very easily, I really don't think there's that much of a point in making it, because the instant you release something, there's going to be 1,000,000,001 copies. But yeah, this one is taking it a while. Yeah, nowadays, if I have like a prototype that I want to exist for a moderately large game, I'll write out a concept and then just have an AI turn it into a design doc, and then break that design doc down into tasks, and then go through those one by one and actually build out a game. But why is it always opening up in this window? All right. Oh yeah, I took pictures. That's what I was doing. Okay. So last time I set up a canvas here that is the option for an options panel. Let's rename this to options canvas. Is there anything else in this? There is not. All right. Yeah, we have a main canvas. We're just going to put that in there, I think. And get rid of the options canvas. Okay, so what I want to do is when the player presses the pause button, we pause the game and do that. The problem is I don't have any kind of pause setup in here. Hold on. Yeah, there is no panel in here for that. So do we have... I think we have an input object. Game input. Let's open that up. So I need to make it so that the game input... Yes, allow. That's right, because I set up a... I need to go through and put some controls on all of this. Yes, that's right. I replaced all of this with the... replacements from the... What's it called? When I redo the character interactions, all of this is going to be going away, and it's all going to be getting replaced with events. So that rather than running an update every single frame saying, hey, did the character press jump? 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 Instead, it's going to be a more dedicated system. That's just like, okay, when the player presses jump, do this. It's a more efficient way of handling things in general, but yeah. And there is no puppy today. My roommate is home for today because the puppy was mildly sick, so he's taking care of her and not me, which is sad, but oh well. She's a cute puppy. Okay. What was I going to do? Oh, what are we going to do for... Does the escape key do anything? Keyboard, A, D, S, W, and then the rest of it is mouse. Okay. What I need is a value for interaction. A value for keyboard dot... I think we're going to use the escape key. is pressed has a capital P. Darn. And it's going to be... Okay, we need a... See, the thing is, it can't be a press it and it turns on while it's pressed and turns off while it's not pressed, because we're trying to change a menu here. So, how are we going to handle that? So it's not going to be is pressed. It's going to be a bool. Public bool. Game paused. Currently only opens options menu. Make it pause game. Okay, cool. So, yeah, game paused is not actually going to pause the game at the moment. So if it is pressed, hold on, let's actually go through this here, because there's different, let's see. Whether the button is currently pressed. A button is considered pressed if its value is equal to or greater than its button press threshold. Press point or default. Was pressed this frame. Whether the press started this frame. Okay. That might be more... Okay, so then... Game paused equals the opposite of game paused. So we're going to start that as false. I just want to make that explicit. Just in case. And if we release it this frame, then the game should pause. Okay. We're going to just test that quickly. And make sure that acts as expected. Okay, cool. Sound is off. Hit play. Okay. Game is running. Perfect. Okay, so game is paused. And I'm also going to, you know what? No, I'm going to make it a separate item. Options panel. See, it would be much easier to have, you know what? Yeah, we're going to have it in here. The best way to handle this would be to have that key attached to a specific event where when this event occurs, stuff happens. Which is basically what we're doing here, but instead of just doing the thing when the thing happens, we're just checking it every frame. It's a very inexpensive operation, but still. Okay, I need... private game object options panel. Okay, so game pause is being set to the opposite of itself, and then we set this based on that. Okay. If the game is paused, then yes, this is on. Okay, so we don't need a return button. So, okay, that's good. with that. So it should just automatically do the switch. This is very hacky, but that's okay. And the option panel should start off. Save, play. Now, does this turn on our options panel? We have a character, we can move around. It didn't do it at first, though, which makes me worried. Okay, so it didn't do it the first time. That is strange. Okay, so game paused is false. The first time we do it, this should be set to true, so this should be true. So it should set it to active. Oh, I wonder why it's not working the first time, though. Let's open up this. Game paused is true. Game paused is false. Okay. Oh, that's the other thing we have to do is fix this audio. Because the way it's set up right now is... audio is logarithmic. Sound is measured logarithmically. Whereas this is linear. Wait, what? Why is effects unchanged? That's weird. Okay, so where does effects play from? Because I thought it played on the player directly. We have our audio source here, which is set to effects. Does effects not change here? Okay, so effects is... So effects is playing somewhere different than the one on the player. Does the main camera have... It has an audio listener. Wait a minute. All the sound effects... Okay. Okay. And I had all of these with their own separate. This is probably not the way I want to handle it. I should probably have an audio channel set up so that these can all play separately. Magic sound, effects, nature sound, effects, walk sound, effects. You know what? Where's Obsidian? Where's my vault? Oh, that's the initial concept for the... I have a game concept that I'm passing to an AI to see how it does, just to like test out an agent, and it's mildly okay. It gets a lot of things wrong. But yeah, that's bad. I need to add... Okay, sound system rewrite is in here. That's good. That's good. Because holy crap, is the sound system non-functional. You know what? Can I... This is going to be in... there. Does this need 2? I think it needs 2. Okay. Yeah, I just want to take a quick note on what's going to be involved in the sound system rewrite. Currently, sounds are all attached to the player and player camera. This is wonky and doesn't work. Only kind of works. It works, it's just very, very iffy. Replace with a system that handles multiple independent audio channels. Consider using fmod. Separate sound systems from the player. Okay, hold on. I just want to... idea. God, I spell every word wrong, don't I? Okay, here's a simple idea. I'm just gonna spitball here. I'm thinking about having a sound grid so that basically the player will just occasionally check the area around it for single play sounds and environmental sounds on a grid that covers basically just a spatial hash that covers the map. And what I'm debating, tell me if this is a crazy idea or not, is having a separate map that's for really, really long distance sounds. So it's like a much, much larger map. So those long distance sounds, if the player is within a couple of tiles of it, you know, which these tiles would be fairly large, so it would be a pretty big distance. Then it's a single very, very loud noise. And the further they are away from it, that noise gets replaced with a quieter but more sort of a oomph noise. So like a close-up, we already have a system like this for explosions, where a close-up explosion is a bang, whereas if an explosion is really, really far away, it's a... So I'm wondering if we could do that. By the way, this is my favorite thing about the Kanban boards is that you can just turn these into notes and then go to the note and just be like, yo, we're doing this now. Okay. So idea, spatial hash maps. Loud noises heard across the map. Okay. And this one I want as a big note. And of course, fmod is going to be a serious consideration. Okay, that's good. Good note for now. This options menu. So these are all now. What about the city? Walk, nature, magic, storm, horn, local sound. I think it might just be the local sound player. Battle, holler, marching, monster roar. Okay, but what about the player? All right. Yeah, we're just going to let it go as is. Nope. Nothing. Actually, hold on. Hit play again. I knew it. Okay, so this does not go until... All right, so I need to have the options panel open, and I need it to turn itself off. There we go. So at start, it turns itself off and sets the volume. That's good. A better way to handle this would be to have, like I said, a sound controller that runs separate from everything else, like how I have it described here. That's going to be what we have to do. I'm just going to separate sound systems from the player. From UI as well. On system with connectors. Okay. So that's fine. Now here's the question. If it turns itself off, do we still have the same issue with the... Nope, we don't. That fixed it. Wait a minute. Wait. Okay. We have it set as a start function that it turns off. That's why it was having trouble at the beginning, because we would turn it on at the very beginning of the game. If it was off at the very beginning of the game, then this wouldn't run until it turned on for the first time, which is when we first hit the escape key. So, yeah, that's a whole thing. I don't know what the heck went on with these assets for the Anton bangers and stuff. What did I do in grid helpers? Oh, I just removed a thing that we weren't using anymore. Player input. Right. And we fixed a bunch of... added effects. What the fuck is it called? Audio mixer. Added effects audio mixer to all effect related audio sources on the player. And what else have we done? What could we add to this? What else did we do? Oh yeah, added the control. Added a pause system that doesn't pause. During play. Commit and push. Yeah, I know. There's a to-do in there. Push it anyway. I'll do the to-do later. That's going to be a lot. Actually, you know what? We should probably make that its own Yeah, do I have a pause in here? We're going to put that on the quest system. The save system is going to be the big thing. That's the holy shit, I have 3 weeks of work ahead of me. But yeah. All right, for this round, we're going to call the main menu done, and we're going to call the options menu done. A results screen. You know what? No, we're going to do something a little more fun. Let's do the ice storm shelter. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to figure out exactly what causes the player to and armies to recognize. Basically, I want them to recognize when they are inside of an outpost, and if there is a blizzard, I want them to be safe from that. Right? Does that make sense? So if they're inside of a structure, they do not take damage from blizzards. I feel like that's... Yeah, I feel like that's reasonable. The only issue is that nobody in... Oh, no, there's something else. Something else I need to do first. That is the... making it so that adding a haulers to the check for modifying the nature grid. Hold on. Nature grid updater. Check nearby cells. AI helper, check for enemies. Yeah, I need to... What the heck is this? Navigate to declaration. Okay. What's the unused variable here? Okay, no unused variable. Okay. So the owner is null, so if there's anyone there... Okay, so basically each grid space will independently check if someone is there. Now, get enemy list. That's above this. And that gets the grid here. Okay, so this gets the unit grid. Now, check for enemies. Just passes back a bool. Now, what about the haulers? Do the haulers... Hold on. Because basically what I'm thinking is the haulers should... NPCs, hauler... Oh, they add themselves to the outpost grid. That's fucking weird. Okay. That's right, because if they add themselves to the outpost grid, that puts them up for capture. But if they put themselves on the other grid... Huh. All right, let me think about how I want to handle this. I keep telling myself that these are all temporary solutions, but if you think about it, they're really not all that temporary, is they? Goddamn. Let's think about this for a moment. So there is an outpost grid where yeah, I might just have them check the outpost grid. Okay, so if that return true, okay, so do the unit grid first. If not, return the do the outpost grid. That might work, I guess. I'm curious if this is going to have any... See, if an outpost is unoccupied by anybody, I don't want it to... Wait, it might not, because if it's not occupied by anybody, then it's going to be null, right? Now, why are those so loud? Because the volume is down on everything, right? It's fairly quiet. Okay, so right now there's nothing here. Okay, cool. So it's only after we occupy it that it starts having an effect on it. So why are those still loud? That's like the big question I need to get answered. All right, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to wait a bit. And depending on how this goes, I'm either going to try and capture some of the Northern Territory to see how this affects it, or I am going to travel a little more. What I think I might do is, right now it affects all of the tiles around it, like the 4 tiles around it. There's like a check that it does. But what I might do is make it so it only affects the tile that it's on, and then have some sort of averaging system where it checks the tiles around it and then includes that in. Yeah, I think these are starting to get a little lighter. One thing you need to understand is that I have absolutely blasted the game as it stands. I massively increased the numbers that I have for all of my stats, so I'm moving way faster and zoomed out way more than I should be. Okay, yeah, this clears out the whole area here. Okay, so two things. First, AI helper, check for enemies. Yeah, check for enemies just checks your tile and the ones above, below, to the left, and to the right of you. Hmm. I might just get enemy list for that then. We're going to make that public. And nature grid updater. How does it run in here? For each var blank in... Okay. This is going to be a get enemy list. So we're just going to check. And we're going to rename this from check nearby cells to... No, not check our cell. Check cell. Okay, cool. So we're going to check our cell for all those return true, but we're also going to have a return false. So if we have anything, return true. If we don't, we go to the next one. If we have anything, we return true. If not, we go through that one. Okay. Wait. I think I might be stupid. I think I just might... If count is greater than 0, and if AI helper dot I can't type today. What the heck is going on? get rid of those. There we go. Okay, cool. So we're going to do a check on our nature grid. If there's anybody there, then the amount of nature goes down. If there is not anybody there, the amount of nature goes up. Except for the case of for villages and castles, if the village or castle is owned, then the amount of nature is going to go down because there are villagers that are there, that are working, that are making things. If the village is unowned, then the amount of nature is going to go up because it's an empty place, so nothing is happening there. At some point, I think I already have a setup where if a beast goes over a hauler or a wagon, it'll wipe out the wagon. And if a beast travels over a village, it'll do damage to that village. And it'll wipe out a portion of the population. I might set it up so that if it wipes out a large enough portion of the population, the village loses ownership. So that way villages that are way out in the wilderness are just harder to hold on to. Which is something that we're going to work on later so I can focus on this because we need to test this. And then we need to think about averaging. Because what I want to do is I want to have each each nature tile check its... Yeah, we're just going to capture all of the villages around our city. Grab everything we can. And I'm trying to figure out why that audio is so loud. Because I have it... It should be connected to the effects sound mixer. If it's not... Yeah, okay, cool. So now it just takes out the stuff that's really, really close to it. And now we need to set up something that'll cause it to get the average of everything that's around it. Of all the 9 tiles around it. And, yeah, it'll get the average, and I think it's either going to go up or down based on that. So that they try and, like, sort of match what's directly around them. And I think that's going to be a good way of handling it. I think. But yeah, if I stand in a spot for long enough, like this area right here, if I stand in a spot over here for long enough, then eventually this is going to start losing its nature because I am here. And these tiles that have wagons going through them with goods on them, those are also going to start to lose their nature values. Slowly over time, because everything in this is going to take a while. So now... Yeah. If it doesn't have any... I think it's going to be we're going to have it go down by 5 if there is something on it. Up by 2 if there is nothing there, and then have it go in the direction of the average by a different amount. Yeah, because you can see how without averaging here, you see how, like, this village is, you know, a little block of society right here. There's no nature here, and right next to it there's, like, a whole bunch of wilderness that has nothing in it. And I'd like to have this sort of be a gradient. So that's going to be the next part. Actually, I think I want to try and figure out what the heck is going on with the city and with the... Hold on. Do I have a... So, Walk, Nature, Magic Storm Horn, Local Sound Player, Battle, Hauler, March, and Monster. Those are all attached to effects, which is odd. Horn Player, Yeah, that's effects. Storms. Those are all good. Player movement is attached to that. That's all set. Nothing on the main camera. On the player itself, there is one audio source that I think is just used for footsteps. Yeah, the sound system needs a complete and total rewrite, but that's not unexpected. Can I do a search for... Nope. Okay, nothing on value managers. No, nothing on the singleton sources. The main canvas. Oh, city sounds. Yeah, you want you to be effects. Now, does that affect... Is this still super loud? Should be dead silent, but it's not. So, when I built this 2 years ago, where did I put the sound effects for the village? That's a question. Market. What's that effects here? File, save, play. Completely silent. Completely loud. Magic. Quests. The end manager. Yeah, that one I want to be loud, so that's fine. The way it is. There's no sound associated with the environment. There is a sound effect that's associated with the environment. So when you stand in nature, there's a lot of noise, but it's like sort of a pixie kind of wee, 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 wee. If I had the volume all the way up and we stood in like a really, really high nature spot, you'd be able to hear it. And that's to indicate that the spot you're standing in has very high magical potential. So if you start casting a spell there, you won't lose mana. Yeah, that's a feature that I really want to keep in the game, is if you are in a place with a lot of powerful magic. See, I was thinking, oh my god, there's a village sounds piece that goes to a audio source. Okay, hold on. Prefabs, outposts, village sounds, effects. I think I just fixed it. Yeah, I think I fixed it. But yeah, places with very high nature, you will expend the nature before you expend your own mana. Nothing. Nothing. Okay. Just to test, we're gonna... Okay. Thank God. The sound system rewrite, yeah, that's going to be in there for a bit. That's fine. Oh yeah, ice storm shelter. That was the whole thing that I was thinking about doing in the first place, but let's hold that one off for a while. Yeah, I want to get nature to check the area around itself. And I think I'm going to keep this episode short because I'm freaking tired. And you know what? No, I think I'm going to keep this going, but I'm just going to switch off from doing this to like playing a game. Yeah, we'll work on that. Let me see. What did I want to do next? Oh, right. Yes. Okay, so how do I want to handle this? I think I'm going to have nature go down by a large amount, like 5. Like minus equal 5. And have this be like plus equal 1. And then we're going to get the average of nature for the area around it. That's going to require 8 checks. Yeah, so let me think. We need to do +1 -1 plus the left yeah. Okay, we're going to make this a separate thing. Private void get average surrounding nature. Okay, and I just need a hash. Okay, cool. So we're going to get our hash. So hash +1 equals +1 plus nature grid hash -1 plus nature grid hash yeah. So let's see. +1 -1 nature grid hash plus what was it that we had here? Grid width hash stride. Okay, it's the hash stride. Hash stride is a arbitrary number that I picked as the maximum size the grid could possibly be, which I picked 1024 by 1024. Yeah, basically it just adds one of those to the hash for each y value up. So yeah. Plus nature grid dot grid hash minus grid helpers hash stride. Okay. So we have all of those added together equals total divided by 4. And I made it for F so that we get the float average. And yeah, we're just going to float. Actually, we can just do that. Okay, so we're going to get average surrounding nature. If get average surrounding nature is greater than nature grid hash. Okay, so if it's greater than that, we do plus plus, else we make it less. Okay. Cool. I have a feeling this is not going to be enough. I have a feeling this is not going to create a proper gradient at all. But it's simple, so I was able to get it done quickly, so it's going to be good enough for a first pass. Hello, Fox on main. Oof. All right, I'm just going to capture a couple of these villages around us. And we're going to give it a minute or two and just see how everything changes. So I know for a fact the villages are going to be very... the villages themselves are going to be very, very low nature because they have people there that are going to be doing things. Like you can see the square right there. I'm doing pretty good. Getting a little tired working on the game, but yeah, holding it in. Keeping it up. I can't do words today. Keeping it together. That's the phrase I was looking for. Okay, so it's a little bit better, but it's still not quite there. Maybe I should have the average just go down. Yeah, because this just keeps going up no matter what. I can't spell today, but who pins VLC? You know, that's a good question. I've had that pinned since I had this computer. Which has been like... Still the same hard drive. I've switched everything else out several times over, but it's probably been there for like the past 20 years, so... I just leave it there. Okay, so... What I might do is remove the plus plus and just have it go in the other direction. All right, file, save. I do a clean install so often. I've had so many different stuff that I didn't want to lose that I've almost never done a clean install. I probably should, just for safety's sake. But, the heck? The given key 9215 was not present in the dictionary. This is going to be in the spot where I just made a change. Yes, it is. It's probably going to be in the mesh updater, right? No, it's in the grid updater. Ah, okay. I see what's going on here. Okay, yeah. So basically, it found a hash that does not exist. So, hmm. Now, how did I handle that elsewhere? Because there's a decent number of spots where it was more common when I was just learning how everything works, but I have gotten better at cleaning up older version and dependencies of stuff. See, I should be doing that. There are basically, I collect hobbies. Like, I'll get tools for like trying to set up external drives, and I'll get tools for cleaning up windows, and I'll get tools for 3D design or computer chip design. Or I think I have something on here for creating stencils for like designing your own shirts. Like you print it, or plushies and stuff, where you print it out and then you put that on the cloth and you cut the cloth and then sew it together and you make your own little plushie. I've never used it, but I got it. I also have a bunch of really old games that I don't really play anymore, but okay, so I need to make sure that this hash actually exists. AI viewers, no. Yeah, it's a very common thing, especially if you have like any kind of ADD or ADHD. Um, I'm undiagnosed, so I'm not going to say if I do or do not have something, but yeah, I collect stuff for hobbies a lot. Okay, so the nature grid. I suppose I can make this all static. I just need to make sure that the hash actually exists before I do anything. Does the nature grid have something for that? Dot. Oh, wait a minute. Grid helpers dot. What's okay? There has to be something here. Hold on. Where's grid helpers? Grid helpers. I have a hobby that I have gotten really into the last few years and kind of stuck with it, so it's nice. That is nice. Yeah. I have one that I've stuck with fairly well, which is electronics repair. I do that on stream sometimes. Um, I haven't done it in a little bit, but it's the one where I've gotten the most like extra stuff for that I'm actually doing things with. Like I also have a bunch of like fabrication stuff here. Like I have a welder and angle grinder and stuff like that, and I've never touched this stuff since first using it. I could swear I had a valid hash check. Remove from map, read from map, inbounds. Oh, inbounds. Hold on. Where are we? Where the heck is it? Not here. Grid helpers dot inbounds. Oh crap. There's not a hash version of that. I need a hash version of inbounds. Okay. So that's going to be in. Hold on. I'm going to close all this extra stuff that I'm not making use of right now. Okay. Grid helpers. I need a separate grid helpers that is public static. Why is blame here? Public static inbounds, and that's going to be the hash. I got into a hobby as it started exploding because yay privacy, so that has been fun to learn. What hobby was it that you got into? Home Lab. I started getting into Home Lab, and then I saw the prices for stuff, and I decided I didn't want to do it anymore. Okay, so I think everything uses the same convert position to hash function. So I think I got into it right before it exploded. If one of my 4 terabyte hard drives die, I am going to cry. Yeah. A friend of mine, speaking of the electronics repair stuff I was doing, a friend of mine came to me because he had a 18 terabyte external drive and he dropped it and it broke. So we brought it to me and my friends to see if it still worked. And one, I learned the fun way that the external drives is literally just a case around a regular hard drive. I genuinely did not know that before taking one apart for the first time. And two, after taking it apart, we tried plugging it in, and yeah, the drive was completely dead. It was dead. And buying another 18 terabyte drive would be prohibitively expensive today. Like, I think when he bought it, it was like close to $900 to $1,000, and today it's just like, what the hell? By this point, I have well over 500 Blu-rays. That's a lot. I still have all my old DVDs, but yeah. 90% of them are like that, and then the last 10% are freaks of nature with like the USB host components soldered onto what should be the SATA backplate. Yeah, stuff's weird. I'm trying to think. That laptop that I have over there is like a decade old. Does that have SATA on the back of it? Because I'm trying to think. Like, yeah, most external drives, they usually try to have something for a USB connection, but I think that's starting to change because SATA is becoming more common. No, it does not. But I have seen a couple of laptops that have SATA ports on the back of them, which is a nice change. I mean, I think USB-C is... I'm not going to say it's catching up to SATA, but it's maybe getting close. But hey, so far my "oh, that is fun" lifestyle has given me a job, so that's good. That's really good. Mine, I've gotten paid for mine on occasion, but it's a very rare thing. There are a couple of collectibles shops around me. USB blew past SATA like 10 years ago, my guy. See, that's why I am a software dude and not a hardware person. I don't pay nearly enough attention to this stuff. I get what the guides online say I should get to make my computer run good. Got to play Minecraft, man. Okay, so to check inbounds on a hash, my brain has turned to mush. But basically, all I think I have to do is... Actually, I think I can just take the grid. Nature grid dot grid dot So what is the grid itself? It should be it's a dictionary. Okay. Dot contains key. Okay, when USB 3.2 came out in 2017, that had 10 gig of data transfer. SATA 3, the newest standard, tops out at 6 gig. Huh. All right, that's good to know. Okay. Let's see. Contains key. Do I want to do this for each of them? I don't want to separate it out into a separate method if I don't. You know what? I might just separate it out into a separate method. Private. This is going to be an int. Get nature value. We need the hash. And basically what we're going to do is if it contains the hash, then we're going to return that value. Otherwise, return 0. Wait a minute, but no, we can't just have the hash. We also need the count. And now we have the fancy 4.0 SS standard that, in theory, can do 80 gig. Oh. Okay. But now we also need to check to see if... Because I also want to get the count so I get an actual accurate... You know what? Actually, it might be a good idea to have nature sort of fall back a little bit at the edge of the world. Maybe. Okay. So we just need to replace this with get nature value. Oh, whoops. Come on. My God, sometimes my fingers don't want to help me. Cannot access non-static. Oh, right. Yeah, because this was... I mean, this can be static now. It's not going to be forever because I'm going to be making changes. And now we have the... Yeah, USB-C is a mess. I have heard that. But again, I'm not really a hardware guy, so I haven't spent a lot of time with it, but it is kind of weird hearing that they've made something a standard where most people that I've spoken to are not big fans of it, but... Okay, cool. So we get those values now. Grid helpers is still a mess because I did not do that. I probably should do an inbounds check for a hash version of inbounds. Okay, get ready. Oh boy. Oh boy. Come on, man. Come on, Fox. Go on a rant. Go on a rant. I want to hear what you got. I love hearing the insane stuff. Okay, save all. I'm just imagining just a wall of text popping up. Okay. If I stand in a spot for a while, it does eventually become natureless. It seems like nature is spreading a lot slower than it was before, so that's a good thing. No, it's gonna capture... Ah, Scout got that village before me. Well, gosh darn. Here, let's actually push this all over there. Spread that down a bit so we get a bigger screen. Scouts are getting sent out in all directions. Okay, it's spreading way slower than it was before, so that worries me slightly. Yeah, I would need to let this run for a while or set it up. Oh boy, here we go. USB-C can be any of the following: USB 2.0 data and 2.3 amp 5 volt power. No data, just power. USB 3.0, 2.3 amp 5 volts. And that is not mentioning that some of them can do 9 volts, 12 volt, 15 volt, and 20 volts. Do they have a control chip on them to make sure they don't push a voltage that they're not built for? Because... yeah, because I've had USB-C cables going to wall warts that were 12 volts. You can actually do something cool. Oh man, nature is not spreading at all now. I don't think that's good. Alright, I'm going to change this. One small little change to a +2. I should probably set that as a value outside of here, but... you can buy USB-C 12-volt cables for replacing an internal power supply of a PS1, 2, Xbox, and Dreamcast. Really? That's right, because their wall warts all transfer everything to 12 volts. And they all want 20 to 30 watts. Right, because they're older consoles, so they're not going to use as much power, so the current draw isn't going to be that high. That's interesting. Okay, now everything is getting taken by nature at double the speed, so we're getting absolutely clobbered by it. And we're going to get hit by monsters. But the question is there now going to be a gradient? Or is it just going to rise up to the point where it's eventually taking it over? Because if the hope is that it goes up at a slight gradient, which doesn't look like... yeah, first monsters are already starting to spawn. Crap. They're small and weak, but they are still there. There's a community of USB-C all the things, which is interesting. Yeah, now that I'm thinking about that, I'm trying to think of different devices that I have that are 12 volts. Because, yeah, I do solder repair, so working with boards, 12 volts is probably one of the most common ones behind 5 volts. At least for modern devices. Yeah, this doesn't work. That's too much. Okay. You can buy USB-C sockets for original iPods. And yes, they do data as well. I can see that. Yeah, because the original iPods, they used the... Did they use the original lightning cables, or were they using one of the USB-C... USB-C. The USB form factors? I'm trying to think. No. I have a feeling there's going to be like one combined mathematical formula to replace this that creates sort of a smooth transition. I'm ready to call one of my friends that's good at math and have them work on this for me. The OG used just straight up Firewire. Really? I remember these. My God, that brings back memories. Because I never had the original, what's it called? I never had the iPad or the iPhone or the iPod. I was never really a Apple guy. But yeah, I had a handheld game console that was kind of a knockoff of the Game Boy. And yeah, I remember it had one of these. Wow, I don't know. I might still have the cable for it somewhere because I got a big box of like computer cables behind me somewhere. Bought a used iPod 5.5 gen secondhand and replaced most of its parts. Oh, that sounds cool. Did you end up making a video or a blog post or anything about it? A solid-state iPod with custom firmware and a big fuck-off battery because the hard disk inside took up so much space. You went from a 600 milliamp battery to a 3 amp hour battery. Yikes. Thinking about it, I do have a friend of mine that, just as like a side project, just as sort of a thing he's interested, he's building an MP3 player from scratch because he was getting pissed off at Spotify for basically how it was treating him. So he was just getting all of his old CDs that he had, getting them burned, and he was building like his own thing using I think he was using an Arduino as the control board, and then he had a flash drive as the storage and a battery. I have done something similar, but home lab, so my Jellyfin streams my music. Nice. Yeah, my roommate, he has his Plex server for all of his extra media. But yeah, and him talking about like taking control of your own music has ended up getting me to buy a very, very crappy but still I have a functional MP3 player that's like some knockoff bullshit. And it does work. And I've basically just been going around finding all of my old CDs, pulling everything off them and putting them on that, so I could use that instead of having to rely on Spotify. Yeah, I still use it fairly regularly, and I remember the specific reason I got that one was because it had Bluetooth connection, so I could use it with with my headset. But yeah, that's cool. Oh boy, we got a link in the stream. Hold on. You are about to open an external link. Generally, the rule is you're not supposed to trust external links, but that's really cool. Nice. That's cool. I love it when people come up with like these projects that I never would have thought up before, because like my mind is like, okay, an MP3 player, I'm just going to go on the internet and buy one for myself. I would never think to get a secondhand one and just upgrade it. That's cool. Yeah. I like to go online and buy. My big thing last year, I haven't done it in a bit, though getting them to run Bluetooth requires soldering. Yeah, you probably have to get a Bluetooth module and add it on, right? My big thing the past year-ish or so was getting power tools, because a lot of they're very, very simple, and usually whatever broken them is something that you can find very, very easily, or you can buy it from the guy who is making replacement parts for the iPods. That works too. But yeah, power tools are extraordinarily simple machines. Most of them, it's just there's a trigger, there's a battery, and there's a motor, and then there's a bunch of gears to connect everything. And 99% of the time, if you buy an old power tool, they're a brushed power tool, which means there's a little block of graphite in there. And that little block of graphite is the thing that connects power from the wiring to the spinning motor. Because graphite, when it breaks down, it becomes a very, very slippery and conductive lubricant. So it's called a brush. I also thank you for testing my server's external sharing system. I've never gotten it tested by someone across the pond, so good to see that it was not that slow. Yeah, no, it ran really well. I mean, it was just one image, but yeah, no, it ran good. But yeah, most people, especially today, don't realize that those brushes wear out over time. Like the graphite just breaks down, and you have to replace it. And they'll sell the tool. They'll think the tool is broken, so they'll sell it online for dirt cheap, and you can get like $400-500 tools. Okay, they're not that much. Probably more like $100 tools, $100 or $200 tools for like $20, $10. I've gotten before. I got an impact gun for like $5, and literally you take a coin, turn it on the side of it, and that pops off a little cap. You can pull the old brush out, put a new brush in, and it takes like 10 minutes to do a full repair on those. Yeah, I've gotten an older MacBook 2014 for $100 for parts, and it just had a dead hard disk drive. I got a completely dead Roomba for free, and the only thing that was wrong with it was that the battery was dead. And I actually took it apart. Let me see if I still have the parts for it. Hold on. I have 1, 2. Where's the other ones? Right there. Yeah. This is the control board for the battery pack that it was in, and that's where the batteries were connected. And it had 3 functional 18650 batteries inside of it. 3 of them are in perfect shape, and one of them is completely leaked. It's rusting on both ends, and it's slowly falling apart, and it was off-gassing on me when I pulled it off. But yeah, I pulled it apart. I bought a new battery online. The Roomba works fine, and the battery pack, since I pulled these off, I got 3 fresh batteries for whatever I decide to work on next. Yeah, I love buying old broken crap and fixing it. I actually have on my workbench right now, possibly for tomorrow's stream. But yeah, have a look here. Guy is making these in his shop, and legit, such a chill dude. That's cool. Yeah, and part of the reason why I went for the knockoff MP3 player was because it was only $20. These are really cool, but I couldn't spend $260 on one. But I understand why they're that expensive. You know, it's a lot of work getting something like that working again. Okay, math equation to combine these together into a functional spot. That is going to be something I wait for. I'm just going to add a to-do for that. And I'm also going to add a to-do for the grid helpers. Where's my read from map inbounds? There we go. To-do inbounds specific to hash instead of position. And over here, what the heck was my to-do? Find a math equation to cause smooth nature drop-off. I know what I want it to look like, but my main language is Python these days. I need to brush up on my C#. I mean, that makes sense for with your home lab stuff. Python is like the... But I'm so busy with all sorts of stuff, so I just don't have the time for everything. Yeah. C#, I mainly learned it for Unity, for game development. I haven't touched Python in a bit, but I probably should because it's such a strong enterprise language. And I need to start working on getting a job soon. I'm already working on getting a job, but more working on getting a job. But anyway. Yeah. Find a math equation for the drop-off. I don't think there's anything I wanted to add here. I am absolutely not turning that into a link expression. I do not want to handle the garbage collection. I hate link so much. It's a cool looking setup for parsing through collections, but it's not fast, and the garbage collection is a pain in the ass. I'm trying to learn my 4th language in speaking, and it's a struggle because, well, I did not exactly pick an easy one. What language are you picking? I can tell it's not English because your English seems basically perfect. So, Japanese. Nice. That's one of those languages that I keep telling myself I'm going to learn someday and never do. Right now I speak English. And bad English. My US mate moved to Japan a few weeks ago, and I am going there in a month. Okay, so you have an initiative. You have a reason to learn it, which usually makes it a lot easier to get through things. Yeah, I picked up a little bit of Croatian before going on a vacation to Croatia last year with my girlfriend at the time. And yeah, it was a fun learning experience, but you really get pushed to it when you when the deadline is coming up for when you have to know it. I speak Danish, English, German, and can And thanks to Danish, understand Swedish and Norwegian if they slow down. Yeah, I can't speak it, but if someone writes Croatian for me, I can understand most of it. But I haven't touched it in a while, so I'm probably pretty rusty. Having said that, it was actually a little bit funny because we went on vacation to Croatia, and I was thinking like, okay, cool, we're going to talk to all these people. The problem is we were mostly in tourist areas where all of the servers at every restaurant and every guide and every person that we spoke to also spoke English. And my broken accent or poor punctuation, I don't know what the heck happened, but a lot of them would hear me speak Croatian and just be like, no, speak English. Yeah, okay, so what do we get done here? Started work on nature, distance, drop off, AI helper. Let's see, what did I do here? Yeah, all I did was add a note for that. And yeah, okay. Nature sources now only check their let's see. Japanese has some strange systems in general. 3 written languages and 2 power systems. Yeah. I wouldn't know anything about that. Yeah, Japanese is, again, one of those languages that I thought about learning and just never really got into. Okay, so nature sources now only check their for contacts, and haulers now affect and owned villages now affect. Huh? West Japan runs 100 volts 50 hertz. East runs 100 volts 60 hertz. What the heck? Japan power grid phases. This is weird. Huh. Hold on. 50 hertz versus 60 hertz. Why does Japan use 50 and 60 hertz in its power system? Yeah, I'm just going to take a quick break from this to read this article here. Something, 2 companies started expanding at the same time in each part of the country, and now they just kind of work like that. Oh, Eastern Japan is German-made generators, and Western Japan is US-made generators. But that doesn't make sense to me. Like, are they all built like with bespoke machinery that only works one specific way? Because most inverters that I've used, like I've had to build an inverter before as like a part of an experiment, and yeah, I tried connecting to the power grid. Don't do that. Don't try to connect to the power grid using your own homemade inverter. It doesn't go well. I got yelled at by the power company. But anyway, you can tune those. Because you have to get to the, you're not going to be at exactly the same, they pioneered the 50 to 60 hertz inverter, and they had them in the PS1 and stuff, so games ran at the correct speeds. That's just strange. I mean, I suppose if the thing you're having is running on pure DC power and you just have a full bridge rectifier, I suppose it's not going to matter that much. But yeah, that's really odd. Actually, hold on. AC frequency worldwide. I want to see a map. Maine's electricity by country. Man, Wikimedia is like on point with everything. Yeah, 230, 50 hertz. So you're somewhere in this part of the world. I'm guessing UK? Just a guess. Yeah, we're in the 110. No, where are you located? Ooh. Denmark. Okay, so still in this part of the world, the spot where I circled with my mouse. Oh, Danish is native language. Hearing you speak, I really thought it was English, because your English is very good. But yeah, it looks like most of the world is running on 220. We're running on 110. Sometimes we have random spikes to 115, but whatever. That's the Massachusetts power grid. But yeah, 60 hertz. So you guys are at 50 hertz. We're at 60. Here is 60. Looks like there's a couple of regions where it's kind of a mix. Oh, English second language. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, when we went on our trip to Europe, we ended up having to buy the power plug to transfer the 230 down to the 110. So yeah, in 50 hertz regions, PS1 and PS2 plays at 25 to 50 FPS, and if the developers were shit, the game would just run slower. Yeah. I forget if they had a built-in timer at the time, because I know at least with like modern PCs, I remember PCs back then, they did run it off the AC hertz value. Like they had I just completely lost my train of thought. Look up the Danish power plug and you will learn the secret to why we are the happiest country. That's why it's not the universal health care, the safety nets, the general disposition of the people. It's just the power plug. Is it that? Is it your smiley face? It is very happy. That is a very, very happy plug. This one looks more surprised than anything else. Okay, I need to push this. Haulers and owned villages now affect value the same as armies and monsters. Okay, we're gonna push that change. I know there are to-dos. I added those to-dos in last minute, so that next time I look at this, I will know what I'm doing. Oi, oi, my neck. But yeah, it's probably because being sick does not mean being poor. Yeah, that's an issue that I've personally run into here in the United States. One was my father died of cancer in 2023, and my mother, thankfully it didn't happen because my mom and dad both had very good insurance. But my mom spent like the first year he was dead waiting to get the bill from the hospital, which like I said, thankfully never came. And I got sick with COVID a couple of years ago, and I went to go get I forget what the medication was, but there was a couple options for different medications that would just like lessen the symptoms just so you can get through it if you get the disease. And yeah, it was like $1,000 for enough to last me a week. And my doctor didn't tell me that when I went to go get the medication. I showed up to the pharmacy after my doctor gave me the prescription. I got there, and then they said, by the way, your insurance is saying this isn't covered. It's $1,000. And I said, thank you very much, and left. Yeah, the most bill I've ever gotten in a hospital was like $30, mostly because the wedding machine is a ripoff. Okay, so that's all set. Yeah, I just added a space there for that. I'm not going to bother sending out a commit for that. Exit out of there. Happy plugs. We have seen you. Power grid. Yes. I don't believe there's any change here. Oh, vending. A vending machine. Oh, you got vending machines in the hospital. Yeah, it's a V, not a W. When you say wending or vending, you mean one of these guys. Yeah. Vending machine. Yeah, they're ripoffs here too. Except for there's a park not far from me that has a vending machine that hasn't updated their prices since they installed it in 2000. They have a guy who goes there once every couple of weeks and refills it, and they just make money off that, I guess. I don't know how. They're charging less than how much you can buy a candy bar for at the grocery store, but yeah, every other vending machine in existence is an absolute pain in the ass. Okay, so we are done with this for now, so I'm going to shut that down. But yes, the vending. If you find anyone in the United States outside of here, it's usually a pain in the butt. The grocery store takes a good 40% profit compared to warehouse price. So, funny thing, in New England specifically, this grocery store only exists in the northeast portion of the United States. There's a grocery store called Market Basket that has a 4% profit margin. That not 40, not 40, 4. And they actually had a sale at one point that scared a lot of people because thought they were going out of business because they had a 4% discount, which meant everything was being sold at cost for like 6 months, and it was wonderful. Market Basket is a wonderful store. If you ever visit New England, go there for your shopping. It's great. I've only been to the U.S. once, was in Arizona for 3 months, and the open carry scared me. Yeah, that can be a thing here. Nope, not that one. Not that one. Not that one. That one. No, that one's actually kind of nice. But that one. Yes. Yes, that is. No, not better. Why was my mic muted on that? Done.
How about now? Oh, now it's the webcam. Now double audio in the other scene?
Hold on. Oh, mic aux. Turn off the mic aux. There we go. Yes, the C920. I do, in fact, have one of those. It has worked beautifully for the entire time I've owned it. I actually got a different webcam, which was a G910, which is a Gus Goo webcam, and I only got it because it has the little ring light built into it. So if it's dark down here, I can just push a button a couple of times, and I have light on my face now. Yeah, I think the other one might be better. It really doesn't matter which one I use because my face is always tiny on the screen, but I have recently started experimenting with streaming, but I don't like being public with my face. You don't have to show your face on a stream. I choose to because I'm a more outgoing, sort of personable kind of person. I can tell you, VTubing on Linux, it's confusing at times. Yeah, I have a feeling it's built. I've never VTubed before. I've considered it at times. A lot of VTubers are really weird, but when I did look it up, it looks like it's mostly a Windows and Mac thing. You seem fairly normal so far. I mean, you're a bit of a nerd, but so far you haven't said anything like degenerate or anything. I'm just saying you haven't asked for pictures of my feet yet, so you're more normal than most people that go on VTuber streams. And that's where I get the follow, yep. On that note, I have an event I'm going to tonight, and I really want to eat before I have to leave, so I am probably going to end the stream here. I'm trying to do this as a regular thing, so I'm going to try to be back around the same time-ish tomorrow. I think I have a schedule on my Twitch page. I assume it's there. But yeah. Is that Skype in your 3D download shortcut? No, that is Cura. That's the this is the one that Ultimaker Cura. That's the one that came with the I had an Ender 3 for a while as my main 3D printer. And yeah, I actually haven't had Cura open in a while. Damn, I was sad. I thought you had an old Skype client. No Skype. Oh, this is one of those test rigs. Yeah. I haven't gone through this in a bit. I've been most of the things that I 3D print are like really simple brackets and stuff, so I can just make everything on Tinkercad. All right. I'm going to get going. It seems like you're the only viewer, so I will see you later, Fox. See you around.